Okay, this is going to be Lorraine Day about sunshine. And this comes out of, recently this internal medicine doctor said to me, it kind of reminded me of like the vision of St. Jerome. St. Jerome, in early Christianity was the one who translated the Bible from the original Greek into the Latin Vulgate. And before he was more heavily into his Christian conversion and ways, he had a vision that the angels saw him and they accused him. They said, "You are not a true Christian. You are a Ciceronian." Because he loved, studying rhetoric and reading ancient Cicero. Cicero is the greatest of all Romans, the greatest orator, the greatest rhetorician. And so what is funny is, like my friend, the internal medicine doctor said, "You are not a McDougler. You are a follower of Lorraine Day." So I thought that was a little bit funny. There was some truth in it. But like I said, I made the video about it, how the main path to health is the diet. But all this other stuff is important as well. So anyways, I'm going to read to you from an essay by Lorraine Day. The first thing she was talking about, alkalinity, and she's like, this alkalinized water, that's not going to make the difference. You have to avoid all the animal foods, okay, and the simple sugars, okay. And she prefers drinking distilled water, but you got to be careful how much you drink of that because everything's removed from it. Okay, so now I'm going to go through Lorraine Day's essay on sunlight. And this is from her book called I Will Give You Back Your Health. Okay, so here she says, all life on earth is dependent on the sun. The sun is the source of all light and warmth, and most of the energy on earth comes from the sun. Throughout all recorded history, man has lived and worked outside, outdoors, with full exposure to natural sunlight, and his survival depended on his agricultural activities. The situation was abruptly changed with the arrival of the Industrial Revolution, when thousands of people began to move inside the cities and began working indoors. When the Industrial Revolution came to the erroneous belief that man no longer had to depend on the natural world for his existence, that he was independent of it. Okay, and nowadays we spend about 93% of our time indoors. Okay. So then she says, in the 19th century, the 1800s and the 1900s, the early part of it, records were kept showing that the sun was a positive factor in health, but people seem to have forgotten that. Okay, so she says in 1877, Downes and Blunt discovered the dramatic ability of sunlight to destroy bacteria. And from this point onward, enthusiastic investigations in sunlight proceeded. Niels Finsen in 1943 won the Nobel Prize for showing that you could treat skin tuberculosis with ultraviolet portion of light. And they know, if two people on both sides of a hospital with the same diseases, the ones on the side where they get more sunshine through their window, they get better faster, as much as 50% sooner they leave the hospital. If you took the tuberculosis patients, put them outside, they're more likely to get better. Same thing with other diseases. Florence Nightingale, give them more sunlight. And there's reasons for that. We're going to get into those in a moment. Research studies show many systems of the body are profoundly influenced by sunlight. Single exposures to a large body area of ultraviolet light will lower blood pressure up to 40 millimeters of mercury. Abnormally high blood sugars in diabetics were lowered. Cholesterol levels were lowered. And the activity and number of white blood cells, the cells largely responsible for resisting disease, would increase. So the one point I would want to make is, why does blood glucose lower? Well, there's two reasons that are thought. First of all, mitochondria are thought to be healthy. About a big percentage of sunlight is infrared light, a huge percentage of it, I think the majority of it. And that is sensed by the body as warmth, but it has deep penetrating powers because it has a longer wavelength. It goes into the body, can penetrate it like 8 centimeters. It can go from the front, it can go all the way through your back and come out on the other side and be measured. Anyways, it does two things to mitochondria. Number one, it activates cytochrome C oxidase to make more melatonin inside the actual mitochondria itself, where the melatonin serves as an antioxidant, which improves mitochondrial function. So it neutralizes the oxidative stress in the mitochondria. Number two, it's thought to fluidize the matrix water around ATP synthase, to change it from a gel phase into a liquefied phase, and to facilitate more rapid spinning of ATP synthase to make it easier to make energy. So those are thought to be two of the benefits of sunlight for giving you more energy. It's also thought to improve sulfation of the glycocalyx, according to Stephanie Seneff. It also causes increased release of nitric oxide in your blood vessels. It releases subcutaneous precursors to make nitric oxide for a systemic vasodilatory effect. All of these things make you feel good when you're out in the sunshine. Also, when you're around green things reflect the infrared light, especially the near infrared light, meaning nearer to the red visible part of the spectrum. And that also will give you more of a mitochondria benefiting effect. Okay. All right, so there's a plausible mechanism for why sunlight makes things better, and then there's all these studies showing the patients do better. Okay, and everybody feels good in the sun. And then she said, however, the discovery of antibiotics brought to a screeching halt the medical world's interest in the beneficial effects of sunlight. Sunlight's free. In 1939, Nobel Prize was given to Gerhard Domek for his successful treatment of bacterial infections with sulfanilamide. And from that point until now, the pharmacologic dominance of medicine has prevailed. Yeah, there's truth in that. Just like, there was also the Alexander Fleming's discovery of penicillin around that time. And also, look at chronic kidney disease. It used to be everybody was real meticulous, the ones that knew what was going on about lowering dietary protein, dietary sodium, dietary fat, like Dr. Walter Kempner, to slow down the progression of kidney failure, and it really helped those patients a lot. But once dialysis became widely available after 1972, lots of kidney failure patients nowadays with CKD, chronic kidney disease, they don't ever get dietary therapy. They just crash and burn and go on dialysis. Very profitable for nephrology. Okay, Dr. Day continues. Current medical thinking views the sun as a destructive influence on man. Doctors caution the public to stay out of the sun, use copious amounts of sunblock to protect one's skin at the beach, and wear regular glasses and sunglasses that block the ultraviolet rays of the sun. But the contrary is true. Just like the growth and health of plants, humans cannot grow properly and remain healthy without the benefits of sunlight. So yeah, I think there's a lot more toxic chemicals in sunscreen. I never wear this stuff. And people who get more sunshine exposure, they've been shown that they live longer. And even though they get skin cancers, they tend to be mild skin cancers that don't kill the patient. And they live longer because they're less likely to get the other things that they might have gotten. So it has an overall protective effect on health. Get your sun while you can. Okay, here's some of the things that sun does that are beneficial. Lowers high blood pressure, lowers resting heart rate, increases cardiac output, lowers blood cholesterol, decreases blood sugar in diabetics, because the mitochondria can grab that sugar faster and burn through it faster, and so it lowers, makes you more insulin sensitive. Increases energy levels, endurance, and muscular strength. If it makes your mitochondria work better, it could do those things. Increases body's tolerance to stress. Increases body's resistance to infection. Yeah, having good immune function, having good mitochondrial function improves immune function. Increases oxygen carrying capacity of the red blood cells of the blood. Increases sex hormones, she claims. Increases resistance to skin infections. Decreases the size of internal cancerous tumors. Well, maybe, because mitochondrial damage is thought to be the major metabolic theory of cancer mechanism for causation and can contribute to progression. And then she says, despite all these benefits from sunshine, doctors tell people to stay out of the sun. Yeah, they exaggerate the significance of the sun cancer and they downplay the benefits of all this stuff. They don't know about all these things. She said, sunlight is considered by modern medicine to be the cause of skin cancer, yet our ancestors for thousands of years lived and worked primarily outdoors, and skin cancer was virtually unknown. In 1900, 75% of Americans worked outdoors and skin cancer was unheard of. In 2014, only 10% of Americans work outdoor, and there are 3.5 million new cases of skin cancer diagnosed annually. Between 40 and 50% of Americans who live to age 65 will develop a skin cancer. In the United Kingdom, skin cancer rates increased 46% in just 7 years between 2001 and 2008. These massive increases cannot be caused by the sun. Our sun is at least 6,000 years old. Has suddenly changed in the last 80 years or in the last 7 years? Not likely. Or are the growing rates of skin cancer occurring because we spend less time in the sun than we used to? Okay, anyways, so here's the funny thing too in that statement. She said our sun is at least 6,000 years old, indicating that she's a little bit of a not ignoring that possible Bible theory that the Earth's only 7,000 years old. I think it's older than that. There's different ways to interpret that data, but I know she's a meticulous Bible scholar and has a lot of opinions about that. So anyways, I'll call this part 1 of Lorraine Day on sunlight. I thought that was a little bit interesting.